call, 254-339-1122. But if you give us three teams, like in a sentence, why? Obviously, Cincinnati's one. Auburn is one. Who would be the third best win this past weekend?
I think that Georgia and Alabama probably don't get considered for this enough because they're just assumed to win. But I think, you go and you just beat the hell out of a top 10 Arkansas team. You shut them out. I mean, they shut them out. When's the last time Kendall Browse got shut out? I'm sure it's probably happened at Arkansas. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't kept track, but can't imagine it's I know they're not winning with that style of play, though. They're not, airing it out and going up and down the field. But still, to see Arkansas put up a 0 was just a testament to how nasty Georgia is. And, Alabama, that final score was a lot closer than that game actually was. But, those two are clearly the best. I mean, there were, several, I think, candidates.
How about Texas winning at TCU for the first time in 8 years?
That's one of my three. I beat Cincinnati, Texas, and
Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn put themselves back in the conversation for maybe not the SEC title because there's clearly the delineation between Georgia and Alabama and everybody else. But yeah, Auburn, that was a fantastic win, especially they get knocked around early in that game. So
Arizona State's 4-1. They beat UCLA, who's top 25.
Yeah, UCLA, a fraud.
But the Sun Devils are 4-1 now, and that was a nice top 25
Brigham
win.
Young, right?
Yeah, so they're in a nice spot there in a very wide open Pac-12 now that Oregon has taken their first loss. But there was a few candidates.
Yeah,
who are the worst losses?
Texas A&M to Mississippi State.
A&M is 0-2, and they have Alabama Saturday night at Kyle Field.
Yeah.
Florida lost to Kentucky. LSU lost to Auburn. Oregon lost to Arizona State. And I wouldn't call Notre Dame.
They lost to Stanford.
I'm sorry. Notre Dame losing to Cincinnati because, hey, they've looked good. Just hammered Wisconsin, right, with that big blitzkrieg in the fourth quarter. That has to be a bad loss for them as well. All right, 254-339-1122. The chat room is going crazy. A lot of people talking Texas and Oklahoma, recruiting and much more. And 254-339-1122. Here's a question for us. The ACC, are they going to get in the college playoff? Can they? No. All right, what about the Pac-12 now?
Probably not.
There's an outside shot for them still. I mean, even though Oregon took that loss, I think they still have a breath, but it's not much of one.
I don't think, and Wake Forest is a good team. They play very fundamental football. They're tough. They're kind of like Iowa where they're just going to knock your in the dirt. I mean, that's what they're going to do. I just don't think anybody thinks they're going to go undefeated. That's what Wake Forest would have to do to get in the playoffs.
They would have to run the table and somehow, who is on their schedule that they've beaten?
Well, nobody yet. I mean, and again, they'd have
So they're going to battle the logo.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've beaten Old Dominion, Norfolk, Florida State, Virginia, and Louisville.
Yeah.
So none of those teams are going to get you in the, and that's
Louisville.
Baylor's been there when they ran the table and actually beat some logos, but still it was like, but look at their non-conference schedule. So Wake Forest, unfortunately, is going to have to deal with that. But good for them for what they've done so far.
I mean, Malik Cunningham was getting Heisman hype, and they just got a win over them. So I think that was a pretty salty win for Wake Forest. But I mean, not a lot of hope that it's going to continue the rest of the way for sure. And looking at, I mean, you need to look at their schedule too. I mean, let me look at Wake Forest real quick.
While you're doing that, this is from the 8. Go ahead.
Okay.
You got it.
At Syracuse, that could be a win. Yeah. At Army, Duke, at North Carolina, number 23 NC State, which who knows if they're still top 25, at Clemson, at BC. So they're probably not.
And then whoever they play if they get to the ACC championship game. Worst losses, the 8-1-7, Fresno State. They got knocked out by Hawaii in a last-second loss. Oregon, Florida, and the best wins, Cincy, Georgia, and Alabama, which sometimes, because Georgia and Alabama are so powerful, sometimes you don't put them down, like you said, Craig, as the best wins. All right, light them up, Paul.
Let's go to ACC country in Jordan, talking Pitt Panthers. You're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
So there's one thing I would like to talk about that I think is being way overshadowed, and I think it's highly disrespectful, is the fact that Kenny Pickett is not in the Heisman race. 20 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1,738 yards.
Yeah, I think those are good numbers. I think, Jordan, you've hit on some good numbers there.
I mean, we could make it even worse. Our wide receiver, Jordan Addison, 29 catches, 542 yards, 11 touchdowns.
Yeah, Pitt's got some players. I mean, they do. And Kenny Pickett, I mean, I've seen his stats week after week, and it's been impressive to see. I mean, the lack of incompletions. I mean, that completion percentage rate is pretty remarkable given how often he's throwing the pigskin around. But, yeah, I mean, he's been unbelievable for them. I think that Pitt's just a brand where a lot of people are probably hesitant to pour in their full faith and say, like,
they lost to Western Michigan, and they're 4-1. But you get into that ACC, look, if it's Pitt and Wake Forest in the title game, that's what we're looking at right now.
We're looking at ACC, leaders jumping out of windows. If that's the title game too, like that would be a nightmare. But no, I mean, I think that there's probably some hesitancy. The fact that they're not unbeaten obviously hurts, and who they lost to, that's going to ding you if you're a Heisman candidate. But no, I will agree with you on this. He certainly deserves more love than he's receiving right now. He deserves more attention for the numbers that he's putting up. And for whatever reason, the couple of examples I gave of just not believing just yet because of the brand or whatever the case may be, why there's hesitancy there, he does deserve more love.
Guys like that just are almost now, like RG3 in 2011, who came completely out of nowhere. And even with two bad losses to A&M and Oklahoma State, still won the Heisman Trophy. It's very rare now, but it does seem like the Heisman Trophy winners do kind of, Johnny Manziel, they're there next year, kind of come out of nowhere. From the 2-5-6, the best wins, Auburn, historical win. Kentucky, historical win. Cincinnati says itself. 6 losses, the worst. Oregon, Army, they got beat. LSU, UCF, they lost. Missouri and Florida.
Missouri got handled by Josh Heupel, yeah.
UCF, they've kind of skidded a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, they have there with Gus Malzahn.
Hey, we will kick you right back out of the conference if you're not just kidding. You're kidding.
But no, yeah, I think all those are notable teams to mention for sure with losses this weekend.
Here's another one from the 2-5-6, and we can debate this and go back to the calls. Is Ed Orgeron and his mulligans of losing, and they got beat by Auburn for the first time. I think is it 99 or whatever it is at home. Is he maybe on thin ice? You kind of feel that, don't you? Just won the national title, 2 or 3 years ago would be, you feel that.
But look, it depends. To me, I think the scandal and how much it tilts negatively towards him out of his favor.
You mean the one that no one's talking about?
But that's still there. I mean, they're still going to have to deal with it and reckon with it internally. If that continues to get, nobody's talking about it, but the sexual assault scandal that's going on at LSU, that and coupled with the fact that things have just not gone well. They could lose. Their toughest part of their schedule is now. I mean, you look at who they got coming up. Nothing's going to be easy, so they're going to be lucky to go 500 on the way out.
I mean, there's a lot of LSU fans that want him gone. I mean, I saw plenty over the weekend that are just, happy about what happened 2 years ago, but at the same time feel like the direction of the program is not exactly going uphill. It's going backwards. And so I think some of it's the stuff off the field that's just kind of lingering, although it's not being – there's no outside the lines anymore, right? So they don't have a daily special on the LSU allegations the way they did on Baylor for about 6 months straight.
Or 2 years, 3 years.
But really, more of years counting that. But, I think, I think LSU's got some thinking to do. I mean, at the very least, they've got to kind of scan around and go, okay, especially with Oklahoma and Texas coming in a couple of years as well. I mean, that's not going to influence who you are going to hire as a head coach, but you have to be mindful of the competition that's coming at the same time, and you can't really afford to hang on to Ed Orgeron for another year or two and just kind of struggle on along, and then here comes the new guys, and you're just, you're bottomed out or whatever. So, yeah, it's a curious position because he just won a title, but there is enough negativity out there swirling from the performance to the off-the-field stuff that – LSU could make a call like that, and people would probably be taken aback in some ways, but I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, okay, I get it as well.
Alabama plays at A&M on Saturday. The Aggies are now 3-2. They're about to be 3-3. They are a couple of bad performances against the wrong teams away from finishing under 500.
They are. They've got to they need Mr. Miyagi to come in and heal Haynes King's leg in a hurry because Zach Calzada's lost out there, and the offensive line's not good either. So those two things, kind of
They have
combined.
been. And again, the quarterback injury can change a lot of things. But
Well, and I mean, we don't know what Haynes King would have done either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
No,
it's
you're
like
right.
he could be way better than Zach Calzada. He's obviously better enough to win the job. But I mean, if your offensive line still isn't fantastic, I mean, that's going to have an impact on whoever's back there. But yeah, I mean, you'd like to have him in the running for sure because Calzada has been shaky.
Well, they just don't have an option. It's Calzada out there to die right now, and he's just between the ears is kind of messed up. He's got some talent. He's got an arm. I mean, I'm sure if they moved him over to Jim Schlossnagle's team, he'd be on the mound throwing about 98. But it's not the case.
I mean, for A&M though, I mean it's disappointing. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I haven't really delved into how Aggies fans are feeling. I saw like Billy Liucci make some comments after the game on Saturday. He's going back and forth with UT fans and whatnot. I think there's still, optimism for that team moving forward. But, I mean, they've already had their grand hopes dashed, and it's, 1 month into the season. So, disappointing so far, definitely.
Hey, he's making a ton of money, Jimbo Fisher, and I still don't understand why they gave him more before the year began. Is the winner of Penn State, Iowa considered a threat to Bama and Georgia? They got their, there's still more games to be played, but that's one of the games that should get tremendous attention this weekend as well.
Probably a bit of an offensive gap there. All right, let's go to the phones. Armstrong going to have to put up the shot clock.
Yeah, shot clock, so make it quick. We appreciate it.